Whenever you have knit garments at the shoulders and mostly your shoulder seam, you're wanting to stabilize that area. So I'll usually cut interfacing about a 1/2 inch in width, and then I fuse it to the back shoulder seam. But this is another alternative, is to use clear elastic, and that is, sometimes you're able to stitch it on the same time that you're stitching your shoulder seams. She has this really soft knit, and at her neckline it's really to keep it from distorting. We're going to use the elastic not to necessarily make it smaller or cinch it in. The elastic is more as a stabilizer, so when she takes it off or she's wearing it, it'll give, but it won't allow it to give beyond the length of the elastic. So that means it's going to stabilize the area. So even if I'm using twill tape and I'm stitching twill tape along the seam line, I'll feed it into the universal, this oval opening of the universal presser foot, so that we'll see if it works here for us. So we can get a, like I call a twofer. So I'm at the seam line, and what I'm gonna do is, and her needle, how do you go to, yeah, there we go. So I moved her needle over. And this is your reverse button. I'm not familiar with your machine. So what I'm looking for is, as I'm stitching this on, because we went off grid in a sense. So do you see what's happening? As we're stitching the binding to her back neckline, and I'm just basically controlling the elastic so that it gets stitched on at the same time. Does that make sense? And you almost really don't have to do a lot of maneuvering with the elastic, because that's just feeding through. You see, it's getting stitched on at the same time.
This stabilizes the shoulder.
So,
the shoulder.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that I'm catching everything. When she turns this down and to the inside, it's in between, but it can't. It won't distort when she's wearing it, because that was our concern, that it would fall, continually grow off her shoulders.
Oh, so it like stretch constantly. So this protects it from stretching?
Yes, it prevents it from stretching.
Okay.
So now we have.
Oh, so it's stabilization.
Yeah, so we are using this clear elastic, which is also, from what I think I remember, I haven't used it in a long time for swimwear, but I think it stands up longer.
So this is what they use in lingerie.
No, like swimwear. You could probably use it in lingerie too, but chlorine won't eat it up as easily as like cotton elastic. Okay. So, but isn't that nice? Like you could put your twill tape in there or your elastic, and while you're stitching this on, you see that? So this is getting.
That's nice.
Getting.
What are you using?
Just your regular presser foot. Like if I remove this one from the Viking,
Okay.
you see it has the same,
Yeah.
as long as you have this oval opening,
Yeah.
you can put your twill tape or your 1/4 inch elastic and stitch it on, because if I'm feeding elastic through, there's certain things that I've already determined how the length of my elastic, and so I'm pulling the elastic as I stitch along, because I find the thinner the elastic, the more elasticity it has, and it'll grow more. So I'm always wanting to use a little less than what the guide says. So I'm gonna pull the elastic, even though I may have used a guide to cut it, I'm gonna pull the elastic and stitch, and then, let it gather naturally on its own, and then whatever is left over, I just toss it. But I know that it's better to have a little less length to the elastic at a 1/4 inch than what the pattern tells us to use. But I'm gonna let you finish this up. You said, why?
I have been enjoying watching you.
Veronica's sewing.
She doesn't show up.